It's a pleasure to welcome everybody on really such a wonderful and happy day for our city. I'm Tim Ritchie. I'm the president of the Museum of Science. We have been the Museum of Science for 194 years. And, you know, we'll wait for that announcement to finish. This one's going to be more exciting than the live animal program, so you just stay here. You stay here. But anyway, things come and go in terms of a community's relationship between cultural institutions and its citizens. And this is a big pivot, once again, in the right direction. It could only come about really through extraordinary public leadership by the mayor and her amazing staff, far-sighted private support, without which this would not happen, and the willingness of cultural institutions to be flexible about their business models. So I'd like you to permit just a brief personal story. 32 years ago, I left my law practice in Birmingham, Alabama, to work in the largest public housing community in Birmingham, zip code 35203, which at that time was the poorest zip code in America. And my hope was to help young people and families have a different vision for themselves and their future, because I knew they had opportunity. I knew they had talent, but not opportunities. And one of the great opportunities would be to go to all the cultural institutions in downtown Birmingham and to bring people to the art museum and to the court system and to the businesses so they could have a vision, because it turned out something so obvious to everybody unless you grow up with privilege, and that is, you can't know something you haven't learned. You can't have a vision for something if you haven't really experienced it. So that's what we try to do there. Well, it turns out that is, in many ways, our mayor's story. Growing up in Chicago and going with her family to cultural institutions and getting a vision for herself and who she could become in the world. And when I heard that story about her life, it helped me understand why this is the mayor who gets cultural institutions more than any mayor I've ever met. So But even then, there are many, many ideas whose time has come that never get off the floor. They never get off the ground because there isn't the coalition of support to make it happen. So once again, the mayor and her great staff has worked with the private community, has worked with the cultural institutions, has worked with the schools to make this extraordinary moment happen. And for that reason, we're excited for this day and we're excited for this mayor. Come on up, Mayor Michelle Wu.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Tim, for your very generous introduction, for hosting us here today, and for all that you and your team do for our young people and their families who need a break sometimes, and this is a perfect place to let them come roam. The Museum of Science is where our community comes together around big, big ideas, and we are so thankful to have worked with you on this one. Thank you for opening your doors to so many of Boston students and families over the last year. We have said from the beginning that our goal was to give young people in Boston the world, and so there's really no more fitting backdrop for us to be at today. Thank you as well to all of our founding partner institutions. They're represented here today by leaders who are here with us in the audience. So thank you to Carol Charnow of the Boston Children's Museum, John Linehan of Zoo New England and the Franklin Park Zoo, Kelly Gifford representing the Institute of Contemporary Art, Vicki Spruill of the New England Aquarium, and Emily Blumenthal representing the Museum of Fine Arts. Thank you to each and every one of you and your entire teams as well. To the many, many hands at all of Boston's beloved cultural institutions that helped us get our BPS Sundays program off the ground and make it such a success. The entire city is indebted to you. I also want to thank and recognize some members from our team at the city who are here today and who have been a key part of this. Boston Public Schools Superintendent Mary Skipper, who you'll hear from shortly. Our entire BPS team, there are many leaders from Boston Public Schools here. Our Boston School Committee Chair, Jerry Robinson, thank you, Madam Chair, who comes out of our cultural institutions as well, so has a deep affinity. Our Chief of Policy, Mike Firestone. Senior Advisor for Partnerships, Stephen Chan. Deputy Director, Alex Meadow. And I want to offer two special acknowledgments. First, I want to recognize that our Chief of Arts and Culture, Cara Elliott Ortega, is in her final week with the city this week. Cara is moving on to another incredible opportunity, which we will make sure helps her stay connected to Boston as well. But thank you, Cara, for nearly a decade of service, bringing arts and culture and opening doors to families here in Boston. We are here to celebrate a program that wouldn't have happened without you and your vision and the work that you and your team have put in over many years. So thank you. Good luck. Cara is next to Kenny, who will step in very ably as our interim Chief of Arts and Culture. And thank you also to Senior Policy Advisor Daniel Lander, who has been the engine moving us forward on this in City Hall for well over a year now. Thank you, Daniel, for all the hard work and getting this over the finish line. Last January, there was an idea to tap into the truly extraordinary resources we have here in Boston, to reach out to the unbelievable network of world-class cultural institutions that call our city home, and find a way to open the doors of the world to our young people and families to truly make every part of our city feel like home. In the Boston Children's Museum, the Franklin Park Zoo, the ICA, the MFA, Museum of Science, and the New England Aquarium, we found partners willing to take that leap of faith and meet us in the belief that this was possible. And together we made it happen. On the first 2 Sundays of every month, Boston Public School students and their families were free to let their imaginations roam, finding inspiration in everything from ancient Egyptian sculptures and massive modern tapestries to giraffes and sea turtles and giant balls of lightning. In total, more than 44,000 students and families have participated so far, thousands for the very first time walking through these doors. We know from the statistics that the Children's Museum collected that there, nearly half were first-time visitors, and many had grown up in Boston their entire lives. We stayed in close communication with each of these families, and what we heard overwhelmingly from the young people and their parents and family members, as well as from staff and leadership at these institutions, was that the program was transformational. I heard stories of youth football teams who rented a bus and all piled in to come visit the museum. I ran into examples where class playdates were happening on the weekend because everyone knew that there would be no financial barrier for anyone else to join them there at that meetup. I saw and met multi-generational families visiting, seeing, of course, the delightful exhibits and animals and other attractions, but also seeing the look in their eyes at each other, at being there where grandparents were getting to spend a beautiful Sunday with their grandchildren and seeing everyone make new memories that would last a lifetime together. I felt it myself when I came with my family. From the zoo to the MFA, the spaces were charged at each of these Sundays with joy and wonder and excitement. It was on every face, everywhere we looked. Each one of our young people deserves to be moved, surprised, challenged, and inspired. That is a core belief that we hold here in Boston. the home of our nation's first public school, public library, public park, and so much more. Innovating for the public good is what we do. And from the very beginning, our goal here was to try to maximize access for everyone in the city. But we needed to start very carefully to see what was possible. And so after all of these many months of understanding, measuring, tweaking, and working with our institutions, we are so excited today to be able to finally open the doors for more of our families and include more of the amazing spaces that make Boston a hub of culture, curiosity, and learning, and invite in all the young people and families who power our city and bring it to life. So today, I'm excited to announce that our BPS Sundays pilot is now Boston Family Days. Starting on January 5th, we will be adding the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library and Museum, and the Museum of African American History to our existing list of partner institutions. And for the next 2 years, every student in Boston, from our littlest learners all the way up through high school, will have free access for themselves and 2 family members to all 9 of these amazing participating institutions on the first 2 Sundays of every month. I want to thank our school leaders and communities for diving all the way in with us. Of course, our BPS Superintendent, Mary Skipper, as well as Superintendent Eileen McLaughlin of the Catholic Schools of the Archdiocese of Boston, Tim Nicolette, Executive Director of the Massachusetts Charter School Association, leaders from our METCO programs, Jewish day schools, independent schools, and every organization across the city for partnering with us to reach every student and open up their fullest education. And I want to give a very warm welcome and enormous thank you to the new institutions, to Jesse Aucoin of the JFK Library, Vanessa Tillman from the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, and Dr. Noel Trent of the Museum of African American History. Thank you for making more of our city's most inspiring spaces free to all of our families. Everyone in this room knows we couldn't open these doors alone. It takes resources and staffing and funding and programming. So in addition to all the city staff and school and institutional leaders, thank you to the dedicated funders and sponsors whose corporate and philanthropic support has made this unique public-private partnership possible. Thank you to Barr Foundation President Jim Canales, to Bob and Michelle Atchison. Thank you, Bob, for joining us here today. Sonia Plessett, Executive Director of the Stone Foundation, on behalf of Jim and Kathy Stone. Barbara and Amos Hostetter, who couldn't be here today, thank you. And Jerome Smith, New England Head of Amazon's Community Engagement, thank you so much. I was giving away turkeys with Jerome just a couple days ago, and now he's back here again. Thank you for all that you do. This past year has proven that our cultural institutions are core parts of our public infrastructure, just like our streets and sidewalks, schools and parks. They transport us, educate us, and encourage us to explore freely and connect deeply. I am so grateful to everyone who believed in this vision and whose partnership and support has helped make it possible for every young person and family member to feel at home in our most magical spaces in Boston. And now it is my honor to pass the mic over to our superintendent, Mary Skipper.
What a wonderful day. To think we began this a year ago, and to have a mayor it's not just about the vision, it's actually about following through and making it happen. That doesn't happen everywhere. So to have Mayor Wu here as a champion for our schools and our youth, students in our city, couldn't be more blessed to have our mayor. So thank you, Mayor. also want to thank the CEOs and the presidents of all the cultural institutions, the best cultural institutions anywhere in the U.S., for coming together and wrapping arms around our youth, and for the philanthropic entities that have showed leadership, stepped up, and supported to make this happen. You know, when I think about different initiatives we've undertaken in this past year, this is one of the more transformative ones that I can really point to, because it's actually been a way to bring the wealth of our cultural institutions in Boston into our schools. You know, it isn't the sheer volume of the 44,000 students who have made these kinds of visits. It's the fact that they've done so when it's the first time in their family that they have been able to set foot into one of these cultural institutions, and to have them feel like they're theirs, that this is their city, and that these museums, these are part of, and science centers, that these are part of them and their family. You know, we have something called the Compact, which is when the Boston Public Schools, the charter schools, and the parochial schools meet together, and you know, we do it quarterly. And what we have seen is that what used to be difference is actually a lot of similarity. And the idea of Boston Family Days brings that fully square, you know, into the center of what's important. The difference is cousins, brothers, sisters, nephews, parents, they're shared across all the different educational institutions in our city. And this initiative, expanding it, and now to include 3 new powerful entities in it, to give our kids that opportunity to explore art, history, science, culture, you know, have in their memory bank seeing the T-Rex at the museum, having in their memory bank touching the rays or the sharks at the aquarium, having in their memory bank the STEAM club that happens over at the Children's Museum. These are the things when we think back in our childhood, that's what made our childhood, and now every student and every youth in Boston will be able to do that. So thank you for all that have pulled this together. A shout out to Ann Clark on the BPS team. I want to acknowledge her. She has the amorphous title of Strategic Initiatives, which means everything. And so she's just done a wonderful job in collaboration with our city team. So thank you again. We will remember this day because it continues to build a history for our students. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Noel Trent, who is the CEO and president of the African American Museum. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Noel Trent, President and CEO of the Museum of African American History. Thank you. And it is great to be a Boston resident. I've only been a Boston resident again for about 18 months. And this is a wonderful city to live in, especially with a program like this. Located on the northern slope of Beacon Hill, behind the State House, on Joy Street, is the Museum of African American History. There you'll find the African Meeting House, built in 1806, the oldest existing church building in the country, and the Abel Smith School, the oldest public school built specifically for Black students in the country, built in 1835. This is where Boston's historic Black community lived, especially in the 18th and 19th century. Like many small museums across the country, we have struggled to return to our pre-COVID numbers. And in that revival, we've created a new department of learning and engagement dedicated to creating new experiences for all visitors. So when we were approached about being included in the next phase of this visionary program, we jumped at the opportunity. This Family Days, this visionary program, provides us, as a smaller venue, the opportunity to connect with the diverse families across this wonderful city. From opening our doors to programming specific for Family Days, we will positively impact the Boston community. At the Museum of African American History, We encourage our audience to know history, to share it, and to protect it. So we are grateful to Mayor Wu, her administration, and outgoing Chief Elliot Ortega for including us in this program. And we know together we can encourage all of Boston to know its history, to share it, and protect it. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Eileen McLaughlin, and I am the Superintendent of Catholic Schools in the Archdiocese of Boston. It is my distinct pleasure to be here today representing the families and the students of Boston Catholic Schools, and even more so, my own family. My sons are fifth-generation Brighton residents who have visited the spaces that we have named here today regularly. I am so proud to be part of a city that prioritizes this type of cultural education for all of our students. I remember in high school, one of my teachers saying to us, maybe chastising us, he said, "You live in the Athens of America, and you spend your weekends at the mall." He wasn't wrong. It was the early 90s, but when he said that to me that day, it stuck, and it influenced the choices I began to make as an adolescent. The program that was envisioned and that leaders advocated for and that benefactors saw value in and supported, and that all of the other people figured out the logistics of how to make this happen, will now stick in the same way that it did for me as an adolescent, and give access to learning and to growth, to personal development, so that the citizens of Boston become citizens of the world and have values that they bring forth. And that will happen not only in our classrooms, but in the cultural institutions. So thank you all for the work that you have done, because I think everyone in this room, if you have not been a part of it yet, will be a part of it going forward. From my own team, thank you to Mary Gosselin for being one of those people who handles logistics when I'm not able to. And thank you all. I would now hand the microphone over to Jim Canales from the Barr Foundation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you for this exciting announcement. I'm Jim Canales, President and Trustee of the Barr Foundation here in Boston. Building on the Foundation's support of the pilot phase for this vital initiative, I'm pleased to announce today a new commitment of $1 million over the next 2 years to support the expansion of the pilot program to Boston Family Days. Given Barr's longtime commitment to both the arts and education in our community, there are numerous reasons why we are so excited about this initiative. Obviously, as several speakers have already noted, we are thrilled to see that this will enable broader participation and expansion to all students in Boston. So we commend the mayor for her vision in creating this broadened opportunity, and we look forward to being part of that. But beyond that, what we love about this program at the Barr Foundation is what it represents about the vitality of our cultural community in Boston. The level of collaboration and shared enthusiasm among many of Boston's largest arts and culture organizations is both exciting and promising. We're thrilled to see so many organizations come together and rallied around a shared vision of expanded opportunity and broadened access, and we know there are going to be benefits for the arts and culture community by virtue of collaborating and aligning efforts in this way. I often have the opportunity to meet with many foundation leaders around the country, and I take enormous pride in the quality and caliber of the arts and culture institutions in our community. We're fortunate to have such a rich tapestry of arts organizations that are so broadly representative of the many cultural traditions and backgrounds. And I am also deeply proud of our mayor, whose commitment to the arts is palpable, authentic, and genuine. Whether it's watching her perform with the Boston Symphony Orchestra at Symphony Hall, or seeing her elation as young people engage with the arts in our communities, her support of the arts community means so much to so many of us. So thank you, Mayor Wu, for your vision in creating this program and your continued leadership and inspiration. And with that, batting cleanup today, I'm happy to introduce the Head of Community Affairs for Amazon, New England's region, Jerome Smith.
Good afternoon, everybody. As Jim said, my name is Jerome Smith, and I'm the Head of Community Engagement for all of New England at Amazon. And I'm really excited to be here on behalf of Amazon, and thank you all for coming and celebrating what a great day. First, I want to thank Mayor Wu, whose vision and leadership is what brought us all here today. And I want to thank her and her team for working so tirelessly with us to kind of find the appropriate way for us to partner. But this vision is just amazing, and I want to thank her for all the work that she has done to make this happen today. You know, since 2010, Amazon has invested over $34 billion in the New England region. We employ more than 37,000 people across 90 facilities. And as some of you may know, we built our tech hub for innovation in Boston Seaport, which we have over 4,500 employees currently today. Given our success and scale, we believe that very deeply that the communities where our employees work and live, we should make these hyper-local kind of engagements and investments to make sure that we are giving back to the communities that have welcomed us. Since 2021, Amazon's community engagement program has invested over $14 million in community grants for local nonprofits in the region. Thanks. These programs have gone to things from little leagues to turkey drives, toy drives, anything that we can think of, any way that we can partner, we have found a way to kind of make it happen. And one of those such things is now Boston Family Days. We firmly believe in supporting programs that break down barriers and create equitable access for our youth or for anybody in the city of Boston. I've had the opportunity of knowing the mayor for some time now. I used to work at City Hall. I paid my dues before she became mayor, and now after mayor. And one thing I know about Mayor Wu is that when she does something, she does it right. And she always looks to find ways to break down barriers and to make this a place for everybody. So when she was at her State of the City and she announced that she was going to look into kind of this new program, I got really excited. I listened to the speech, and I reached out to Steven. I was like, Steven, how can we be a part of this? And he's like, hold on, I'm still trying to figure it out ourselves. But it was great because I'm a board of trustees for the Boston Children's Museum, and my colleagues are here today. But it was just a moment where I know that she was going to do it right, and she did it where she brings this all together. She sets benchmarks. She's like, let's get data, let's get people together, let's do this correctly because we have to make it sustainable. We can't just throw a program out to throw a program out. We have to do it correctly. And so that's why Amazon was very excited to get on board. And we committed $500,000 between the pilot and now the expansion for this program. We have great faith in the mayor and the work that she's doing. We're working on a number of other fronts with BPS and their workforce team, Boston PIC. We're creating upskill programming for the summer jobs program. So the vision that Mayor has laid out, all of us should embrace and welcome. It's the right thing to do. And Mayor, on behalf of Amazon, we're looking forward to future partnerships with you. Thank you so much for having us here today.
So I wanted just to bring all the speakers back up, as well as any representatives from our institutions who are part of the program to take any questions from the media. sort of a revamp en español para todos. Estamos muy emocionantes hoy aquí para anunciar la expansión de nuestro programa que ha tenido muy éxito en expandir, aumentar el acceso para todos los estudiantes en Boston y sus familias. Es un programa para acceso gratuito a 9 instituciones culturales en Boston y después del periodo piloto tenemos 44,000 estudiantes y miembros de sus familias que podrían participar y visitar a estas instituciones que representan la posibilidad de imaginación, de desarrollo y todas las oportunidades del mundo que tenemos aquí en Boston. Other questions? Any other media questions? That's good. Okay, would any of our other institutions who didn't get to speak want to offer a quick reflection on the impact or anything that you are feeling about this? Only a few.
I just wanted to echo, I'm Carol, I'm the head of the Children's Museum, and I just want to echo Mayor Wu's remarks and the remarks of all these speakers who've made this possible. This is a remarkable program. I remember on one of the Sundays speaking with a woman who came up to me and said, "Thank you so much. I'm a grandmother, my daughter came here, and my grandchildren are here today." So, I mean, this is an extraordinary opportunity for the community to have ownership of the wonderful cultural riches, and I'm so grateful to my colleagues here who are so wonderful and make it all happen every day. And thank you also to Jerry Robinson, who also had this wonderful vision way back when, and we're so happy for her to see this come true today. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Vicki Spruill, President and CEO of the New England Aquarium, and I too want to offer my thanks to the mayor and her team, to all the donors who participated in this program. You know, we were a little tentative at the beginning, and I think that's fair to say because this was so new, and yet it called to us because obviously our mission is to be as accessible and inclusive to all the kids in Boston. And I can't tell you how proud we are to be a part of this continuing program. I have so many personal stories of children and their families telling me they had never visited the aquarium before. And kind of an unexpected benefit, I think, has been what this has done for our own staff and how they light up on these Sundays and feel so proud to welcome all the community of kids in this fantastic city. And I think it's just going to get better and better. So thank you to my amazing colleagues and everyone else in this room. This is fantastic.
Hi, John Linehan from the zoo, and I just want to share how excited I am to have these kids coming in and not only creating the lifelong memories that you spoke of, but also the STEAM learning that goes along with it. These are not just fun, but really meaningful experiences for the kids. We've seen almost 14,000 young people come through in this program in the pilot alone, so we're so excited to continue and expand it. Thank you for your vision, Mayor Wu. We really appreciate it.
Okay, one final note before we take a group picture and invite up everyone to join that. Just on a note on the logistics of the program and a note on the name of the program. So as you heard, this will kick off in January, open to all students in Boston. Our current pilot, BPS Sundays, will run all the way through until then. And what makes this program, I think, special in a different way is that it's not just throwing out the information that the doors are open and these are the days. Each student and their families receives a direct communication before each of the Sundays. And so there's one more reminder in a very busy world of lots of things that you're thinking about, that these institutions are here and they're waiting for you. And we believe that, in all of our measurements of the pilot period and what's been effective in our surveys of how families decided to go where they ended up visiting, that extra communication effectively from our cultural institutions with a weekly invitation directly to our students through their schools, that has been a very important part of it, and we want to continue finding ways to strengthen that direct communication. On the name, we really struggled for a long time and ended up deciding to keep it simple, plus many other amazing iterations were taken by this or that wonderful program that was already in place. But I want to just reflect on the idea of family, because in this moment in the world, sometimes certain terms can be made to sound more exclusive or sort of narrowly defined. What we want is for Boston to be a home for everyone and for each of our residents to see the entire community as their family. And so the program is specifically designed so that every student gets to bring 2 people with them. You don't have to live under the same roof. You don't have to be a parent necessarily or caregiver. We want you to connect with the people that you love through these incredible spaces that become home for everyone. And so the goal of Family Days is really to see the entire city represented and reflected in that idea that we are all not just neighbors, not just coexisting as community members, but truly family members who take care of each other, have each other's back, and will continue to do so as a city. Thank you everyone for being here.